and then Mr. Kane as the second, the body felt that there were either capable, more than capable of walking in and taking over treasure collector's function based on both their years of experience and how they interviewed. But now, of course, is due diligence.
Yeah.
Screening committee still requires due diligence, right, of the board. So with that in front of us, I guess, David, questions about the process?
No, no, the process. No?
Margaret, comments or overviews about the process?
Like you, I believe that the team represented a good cross-section of the town's financial functions all around. And, I think the different interviewers brought different perspectives. They brought their own perspectives and were able to, we had the standard list of questions, but they were able to build on those questions. And again, the entire interview process was done in a public forum. It was posted.
Right.
There were no audience members that I can remember.
So people walk in, but they were going to a different meeting.
Oh, that's true.
They weren't interested in sitting in a screening, but the door was available.
That's
Anybody
true.
could have.
But anyway, it was
Exactly.
yeah, it was a good interview team.
Good. So what we have in front of us, David, is a recommendation to actively pursue tending an offer to Susan Warner, if not Susan Warner, for whatever reason, Robert Kane. That came out of the screening committee. Can I put that in the form of a motion? I just did. I'm asking.
Yes, you may.
Okay. So is that a second?
I'll second.
All right. So we have a second to act on the screening committee's recommendation to pursue Susan Warner as a first choice and Robert Kane as a follow-up, a capable follow-up in the event something offered doesn't work out.
Would that be contingent on reference checks?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 2-0, Margaret. Thank you. I appreciate that. Fred, you're early. That's good.
So you can get out early.
It's warm out there, exactly. Okay. That's all right. Okay, Fred, we're going to jump back up to the agenda. We'll be a little bit ahead of schedule at 7:17. Fred, we're gonna do talk a little bit about your Zone 2, and then we were reminded about the update for the Sunderland Source Water Protection Plan. But you know if there's any overlap, or if they're not mutually exclusive, a timeline for starting to work on this part as well. We'll start for what you came for.
What I have before you, and you probably have the correspondence, is we're required by the DEP to notify the entities that the Zone 2, the communities that the Zone 2 for our Hubbard well is located in, so town of Sunderland, town of Leverett. And what they're calling this is a best effort on our part to make a notification to the communities about protecting the groundwater for the well. What we're in the process of doing is putting a satellite or a redundant well into operation, and this is part of the process that DEP requires from us. There's really no requirement on your part, but I think maybe if we did a kind of an overview of, at some point, of what the water protection in place is and whether anything else might be looked at, or if everything that we have in place is sufficient to meet the requirements that DEP has proposed to us.
So the notice, Fred, is to come and talk to adjoining properties to talk about the Zone 2, and it's not the best map on the projection right there, but essentially there's an outline of the area of concern. Now, is this, your steps here are to build redundant infrastructure at the Hubbard well?
Correct.
And so that means punching another well in the same area and then having a duplicate water source, but it's the same aquifer.
Right, mechanically duplicated, but we're not withdrawing any more water.
Right.
So if we had an issue mechanically, we have
switch over.
backup.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. And the part of the notification process is to spell out what that plan is?
Our notification is to present you with the requirements that DEP has. I think there was a couple of sheets on that.
Right.
The state regulations of not having certain activities within a zone 2.
Okay. So,
And I think we may comply with probably all of them now.
okay. So if you're gonna, warn the public, if you will, what kinds of activities can happen on those zone 2s? As a rule of thumb.
Well, I think it was listed some hazardous waste deposits, sludge, depositing of sludge.
Sludge and septage, there you go, that's a great one.
Right, storage of, or I think any type of snow removal that's not from the zone 2 itself, so you're
That's
bringing it from
interesting.
another part of the
Ah.
community and depositing it on the
Sure.
zone 2.
Might have salt in it and stuff.
Correct, yeah.
Makes sense.
So they're looking to eliminate these possible sources of contamination.
Okay. And so outside of the notifying as well as the list of potentials to look out for, I'm sure the list came out of things that have happened. People have stored snow and they come out of, we're responding in some ways to events.
Yeah.
What steps in this notification are actionable by the town and the district working together? Signage, gates, populace, what can we tell John and Jane Public about Zone 2? And why not to go there and dump your oil? Not that that shouldn't be obvious.
Right, that shouldn't be
But
done anywhere. but,
Mattresses, we've
correct.
seen those things.
Yeah, I mean, we try to discourage that.
Mhm.
We put signs of, public water supply, which hopefully that would discourage them from doing nefarious kind of things. But I guess what I have presented to you is the process that DEP has asked us to go through.
Okay.
And we can take whatever direction we want from that.
Okay.
This notification is satisfying their requirements for us to proceed putting that well online. If you choose to do nothing,
Right.
it's, we've made the best effort to
Right.
notify the communities.
So, other people being notified, Fred, as part of this process?
The notification has gone to the boards of selectmen of the Sunderland and Lever communities.
Okay. Any private properties or state properties or anything like that?
No.
It's really just, it's adjoined by town
It's
property?
looking at what community controls we have, planning board issues, Board of Health issues, regulations that the district has no control over. The communities regulate that zoning and the Board of Health regulates their requirements. And what this is looking to do is seeing how everything correlates and whether there's something that can be done that might enhance what's already being done.
David, questions, comments?
No, I read
Perusing
it
the
earlier and
plan?
I was going through it
Yeah.
again, so, yeah.
Can I just ask a question?
Please.
I think it's an easy one, actually. I don't really understand, but constructing the redundant well next to the Hubbard well, if there was for some reason the Hubbard well, I don't want to say contaminated because the next well could.
Yeah, if the
Well,
aquifer is contaminated, the aquifer is contaminated.
Right, so in what events would the redundant well take over for the Hubbard?
A mechanical failure.
Just a mechanical failure? Okay. So what about an overall power failure? That's,
Well, we're going to have backup generation power there for the 2 wells, but putting a redundant or satellite well doesn't increase our withdrawal amounts, so we can't pump any more water, and DEP has made that clear.
it would have to be one or the other.
Well, it may be possible to operate them simultaneously in an event that needs to happen, but we just can't withdraw any more water over the annual withdrawal period.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
you could
understand.
run them in parallel. What I'm thinking I'm hearing you say is
At
you can run them in
lower.
parallel, lower volumes, or
Right.
inside your volume windows where you actually measure
Yeah, that
if you
makes
needed some yields.
Right,
Okay.
yeah. But the main reason is a mechanical failure because our other well wouldn't be able to provide enough supply during the high demand periods.
So, with respect to notice, do they mention anything in there about correspondence from the board, receipt, meetings, and then any action items, I guess is the question.
Yeah, I don't,
That is something we have for homework mainly.
I don't think there's anything that we have to do specifically.
It doesn't, I mean, in the correspondence I have from DEP, they said minutes of a meeting, if I attend a meeting and have minutes. I do have the correspondence that was sent to the communities,
Right.
and I'll give them a copy. If that's sufficient, then that meets our requirement. But, you know, we're more than happy to
Sure.
go forward with any other kind of, like, planning,
Yeah.
meet with the planning board, or I think I have a date with the Board of Health next week.
Makes sense.
The only thing I see is like request in writing that the municipality adopt local controls to protect Zone 2 recharge areas. So it's probably a matter of cataloging what we have in there for local controls, I would guess, right?
Right, and, I mean, we have the watershed overlay, and they are aware of that. I mean, that's been in place for a number of years, and I don't know if really many changes have been made.
So with respect to documenting the notice, which is the intent of this meeting, can we get, Margaret, our office to generate a correspondence to the water district saying that we were in receipt of the notice, that we, enjoyed the conversation and look forward to working with the district on local controls to be implemented as per the plan.
That
This
would
where
be-
you've got something.
Right,
right from the-
that would be very, very
And
good
then
if
you
you
have
could
the
do
signed
that.
minutes on July 29th
Right,
too,
right.
which we could forward
Okay.
to you.
Okay.
Something about letterhead,
Yeah, that's right, that's right, like it or not, right?
Right. Fred, can we jump a little bit about water source protection plan?
Sure.
We're, as was said earlier in the meeting before you actually got here, really largely intact and really, really helpful in many of the steps that are inside the water source protection plan are still active and vibrant even today. The requirement for updates, I'm curious.
Yeah, it probably should be updated. I think that was probably 7, 8 years ago.
2008 in this case.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, I know you've been on, in particular since the Halloween storm, infrastructure improvements.
Right.
Working on redundancy and water sampling and testing, and you've been active in the discussion about the Sugar Bush Meadow properties.
Right.
So I understand that something like this can slide a little, but I also we learned collectively as a town that something like open space and rec plan being out of date can actually stop us from applying for grants. And so I guess I would ask for help from the district to whatever we can do to work together to get this updated.
Yeah, there was a committee that worked on that.
There was, it's probably listed in
I
the
don't
front of
know
that
if-
book.
Just looking, and there's a page here that says review annually and update every 3 years, so we're definitely.
Oh, 3 years,
Full of
oops.
signatures too.
I don't know, do you think there'd be significant updates at this point? It's 5 years.
Yeah, no, I'd have to review that. I don't know,
Probably need to add the new well in, I would suspect, at some point, right? Or do you have to wait for that to get approved? and then-
well, yeah, we're still in the process of getting it online, so, but it's, like I said, it's redundant, so it's not like it's establishing any kind of new zones. It's just still, the zone 1 changes a little bit because we're moving 100 feet back, so that, the zone 1 is the 400-foot radius around the withdrawal point of over 100,000 gallons per day.
Just got to the definition of that right here, zone 1,
Very
zone
good.
2.
So over the next, maybe the remainder of this year, we can revisit this piece.
Yeah, that would be a good project for fall,
Yep,
early
yep,
winter,
yep.
something like that.
Color version of that map.
Sometime.
Perfect. Well, and this
Mass
would be,
Rural Water doesn't have any circuit riders do they have circuit riders at this
I
point that
don't
can help?
know if they have one that's capable, the woman that helped us with this project is an operator in Shelburne now.
are you talking about the DEP
She was
circuit
very good.
rider?
No, Mass
Or-
Rural
okay.
Water actually had,
They have their own-
the person, Rebecca McDermott, that helped
Right.
the town.
yes, I saw her name in there, yep.
Yeah,
She was very good, but.
yeah, yeah, but.
GIS will help, this is another thing that GIS will help with too. You have that as
You're
overlays,
right.
you know.
The district may be able to take advantage of the GIS mapping the town's
Yeah.
gonna have.
They do have a specialist with the Mass Rural Water who is good with GIS, so
That's
that's a possibility. We're a member, I know the wastewater treatment is a member. They do have to charge for some of their services now because of funding cuts, so, you know, there may be a charge for something like that. We'd have to talk to them.
To have the expertise, though, would be helpful.
That would be a treat to be able to pull that kind of information up through all that
I
layer.
think we can make sure we can get all that in there.
Super.
Yeah, I think, if you had GIS, that's just, the water resources is one of the critical pieces you want in there.
Absolutely. If I could just ask another
Please.
question, do you know if Mass GIS or Mass Rural Water have any of your maps, locations in digital format already?
I don't know that answer.
Okay, maybe we could put a call into Mass Rural Water to see, because when we convert our data, it could potentially be in the first bundle of data that we give them to put up.
It exists already, right?
Yeah, right.
That's the thing,
Right,
exactly. They make
Right.
it, oh, wow.
Smart.
If
as a
it
matter of
exists
fact.
already, yeah, that could be.
Interesting. So a clearer picture of the area we're talking about with respect to the Zone 1 and the Zone 2.
Yeah, it's a fairly large area.
Right.
A lot of it is in the town of Leverett.
Yeah, I noticed that, yeah.
But it's kind of the saturated aquifer that, you know, feeds the Hubbard well and other wells in the area too. But this is defined specifically for our Hubbard well.
So this aside, we'll take notice of the meeting, document the meeting, document the
Okay.
notice, get
Yeah.
that back to the district. We'll work together over the next remainder of the calendar year, not the fiscal year, calendar year, about the Water Resource Protection Plan. Fred, while we have you and you have the camera, any maintenance, line flushing, water test reports, you have the floor. This is my softball for the district.
Okay, Scott, we do have our CCR, it was published towards the end of June in the Greenfield Recorder. You may have seen it there, and then we have copies that are at the town office, post office, library. Those are available. That kind of covers any water testing of 2012, and everything was
What again, I'm sorry?
a CCR,
A C-
Consumer Confidence Report.
Okay.
Yeah, the DEP terminology.
It's like acronym soup, right?
Yeah, so that's available if anyone's interested. There's really, outside of that well project, we don't have any major projects planned right now. We did do a recent repaint of the Clark Mountain tank and site work there, and if you had a chance to, you know, visit that site, it's by the cell tower there. You can see, it's an improvement over, you know, what it was.
People think that, people may think that coatings, especially industrial coatings, what we would call paint in our hallway, is just for the aesthetics, and really from a metallurgical point of view, it's a great way of extending the life of the tank.
It is, yeah. We do have a small issue though with rock throwing.
I read that thing, yeah.
Yeah, and of course that, you know, fractures the surface on the outside and may fracture the surface on the inside.
That's because it's coated on the inside as well.
Yeah, with an acrylic, and it was about $300,000 to repaint that tank. It was constructed for less than that.
Right.
But, you know, if you don't maintain it,
It's gonna start to rust.
you're right, you're gonna lose the whole structure. And,
Still having those issues? Or it was just a one-time thing that damaged the?
no, they're,
They're
you know,
ongoing.
yeah, it's,
Probably an ongoing, I would suspect it would be an ongoing issue.
can
Interesting.
Yeah.
keep reaching out to the
No,
public
we're-
safety people.
Really interesting.
No water, no town.
I know, I thought DEP had said, I thought the DEP had said once we were having
Like caging it.
problems with illegal dumping, you know, large-scale illegal dumping, that there were cameras that could be made available on a temporary basis
Um,
to
Well,
municipalities.
yeah, we're gonna review what we
Put
need
webcams
to
in.
do, yeah.
Yeah,
You know, it's not significant, but it's just that it deteriorates the finish and,
Pesky problem.
right. And we don't wanna go through the expense of redoing what we recently did. And I think just the people that do that aren't aware that the damage that's being done.
Right, right. No, you raise a good point. It's not like chipping paint. It's a little different than that.
Right, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Anything else, Fred?
I think, that's good.
Okay. I appreciate you coming in with the notice. This is a public document, of course. It's available, it'll be available downstairs. And if you gotta get a hold of the district, certainly they're both at our website as well as in our handouts at annual town meeting. You can actually get a hold of them. Okay. Fred, thanks so much.
Appreciate your time
You
tonight.
have a great night.
Okay, good night.
Okay, David, I wanted to jump back if I could. We have a marked up job description here. I subject jumped, and for that I apologize. That includes a marked up version of the current job description for treasure collector. And so between now and a point we actually tend offers to however these cards fall, you know, we can take the time and look at some of the comments that Margaret's made, as well as think about our own input on what this combination of description and duties in the job may well be. So we'll take that back for our next meeting. Homework, even in the summer, David.
Never ends.
Never ends, exactly right. Okay, minutes of July 1st. And for those who don't have, those who have private water supplies, wellheads, and there's plenty of them in the town of Sunderland and all of the area, it's important to bear in mind that, you know, the district manages that water supply for the people who are connected to, quote, city water or town water, and really is a separate entity with its own elected body, its own budget, its own capital expense program, and as we just saw tonight, its own reporting requirements. And it can be a little heady dealing with the DEP, but if you're interested in water and water district and water infrastructure, that is the Sunderland Water District and not the town office building, and it makes for some interesting conversation and reading and requirements. Some people think that just by turning the spigot on, it's there. Well, you want it to be.
Right.
It's like lights.
Gotta get there
It's still
somehow.
gotta get there, so. Minutes of July 1st?
Motion.
Motion to accept the minutes of July 1st. I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. I just threw my agenda out. Maybe. Gabe, can you replay what I did with my agenda? Wait a minute. I have it. Okay, town administrator updates? What do you think, Margaret? It's been hectic, hasn't it?
I think we should just mention when it's not hectic.
It's a good idea, actually.
You know, because that has not gonna happen very often.
No, it's not.
The auditors are in.
Now, we have auditors that are not the normal annual audit.
No, this is the specialized audit. This is the treasurer collector function review. What this does in a financial position is basically gets everything up to date for a new person coming in, so they know where they're starting from.
They got a nice ground level.
Yeah, they know the financial picture, so.
That's good.
That makes great sense. Outside of that, we are still dealing with not only the summer schedule in some ways, it's from a meeting schedule point of view, it's helpful. We're still dealing with an open position and again, a mosaic of help. And at this point, I think it's really important to recognize the amount of effort, emotional and energy required to do that. And for that, Margaret, particular thank you to you. It's a lot of work.
Oh, now now you're making me think of other updates. Now that we've spent
See?
time talking.
Crack
Solar.
the shell.
Conservation Commission's going to be talking. They're meeting tomorrow night on wetlands issues at the solar parcels. They'll be looking at options for the solar projects on those parcels. Regional EMS, there's been a lot of discussion about furthering the discussion on staffing and location for the regional EMS service. So those meetings absolutely need to continue. A couple of towns have expressed an interest in bringing the whole regional EMS proposal to a town meeting in the fall. So those, they're going to be open meetings, potentially on July 22nd, there are 2 dates in August that will be posted. So, and those will all be joint meetings between the 3 towns. And then the Comcast license agreement, we've been going around on that recently, and we're looking at having at least a brief meeting between all 4 of the towns, Conway included, to talk about negotiation strategy, where we're at in the process, what the towns want to spend their money on in the negotiations process, and things like that. So that's going to happen on July 22nd. The full boards are invited. That's an off meeting night for the Sunderland Board of Selectmen, but the full boards are invited, and a couple of the boards are going to have 2 members. I know Whately and Deerfield will have 2 members represented on July 22nd for both Comcast and regional EMS. And that's it for now, I think.
A reminder that this week, bless you, Thursday night, 6:30, right out here, literally right out there. Concert with resident Sarah Schneider and some band mates, some wonderful Americana music, and some fine treats served by volunteers. This is Thursday concert at the park. There's 2 dates. The library website has who the other act is, Mr. Art Steele, another town resident. And there's also an evening, I think, baseball game coming up. That date I'm not sure of, but bear in mind, this Thursday, 6:30, come out and cheer on your own neighbors.
There you go.
And it's a nice summer breeze. It won't be too miserable, right, Gabe? Right. I got a big thumbs up from the guy behind the camera. Okay, with respect to boards updates, David? Anything?
No.
Okay. So we have homework that's a treasurer collector's job description. And I would likely be remiss if I didn't take note and mention that retired superintendent Dr. Regina Nash has taken an interim superintendent's role for the city of Northampton while they look for their sixth superintendent in 8 years.
Oh boy.
So as much as, well, a little bit of employee or team continuity can go a long way. I don't even want to think about searching for a treasurer collector for another 14 years, or a town administrator for 20 more.
Better work.
Okay. If there's nothing else, is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion's made to adjourn. I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Call us out at 7:43. Thank you, Gabe. Appreciate it. Thank you again, Margaret.
You're welcome.
Okay. No, you have to go move more rocks. That's what you have to do. Margaret, the sewer connection policy?
Next week?
Yeah.
Next week, the 29th?
Yeah, I think that there's a handful of little things, but they're just those things.
Yeah, okay.
Upon reflecting, I didn't want to have a response that was reactionary, exclusive to a request.
Yeah.
And there's some of this